Well, season's over. A lot of question marks, but the one question mark that surprises me the most is Philip Zadina. Um, Chris, I will leave this one to you. I'll let you run the science on this one.
Yeah, I don't know if there is much science on this one, really. Bit of a disappointment, right? I mean, you're talking former sixth round pick, guy was billed as a goal scorer. That hasn't, really come along at this point. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on here. It's hard to say. The shooting percentages are low. His average time on ice is low. I think he was scratched for a game or two throughout the season,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, his season ended with appendicitis. He played 74 games. Um, but
Yep.
towards the end, when Vrana came back, they put them together. There started to be some chemistry there, so I think there's a reason for maybe some optimism next year. He's still young. I don't think he's ever going to be a 40 goal scorer. I think that ship's probably sailed. But you have to look at his low shooting percentage. The shooting percentage is just he had the 1 year, I think he had 13%, but everything else is right around 6%. 6% is very low. So you got to wonder what's going on there.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys. Confidence has been an absolute disaster all year. I think that is because of Blashill and that coaching staff. Usually, guys that are, let's say, more confident are more willing to venture outside of that happy zone. Um, Guys like Rasmussen this year, we'll talk about him later. He ventured out a little bit of his comfort zone with leading the rush, but Zadina kind of stayed on that one timer, wanting to flow kind of. You know what? I will say his transition coming defense or transition from the neutral zone back to the defensive zone. His back checking was I thought was pretty good. So there's a lot of stuff you don't really see there. I mean, it's something he is going to have to break out of. My wish for him what would be put on a little bit more muscle this year and kind of change your game a little bit. More of a power forward role. He's a small guy that he doesn't have the speed to be a sniper. He's got a very good shot. Just add a little bit of size and with that shot and he's kind of a head case, so I mean, he can kind of fly off the rails a little bit, which is good to a degree. So I think he needs to kind of harness that a little bit and put that into the offensive side of his game. So get in the weight room, put on about 20 pounds of muscle, and it's possible. It's possible.
That's a lot, man.
Well, he's a professional. He can pay for it. It's not like you and I going out to their garage or something like that, or going out to Lifetime to do it. And he's got people to do that for him. So that would be my recommendation for him. I think he's going to be a 20 goal scorer next year.
Okay.
Um, Once Verana a full year with him, I think he could have been. I think he could have been this year at least.
We made what? He got 10 goals, 24 points,
Hmm.
74 games played. That's
Yep.
30, it's what? 0.324 points per game. So that's not very good. He played a lot of top six. He did get some minutes on the top line every now and
Hmm.
then. When you had all those injuries, you had Fabry injuries, you had Burt out for Canadian games. So there were times where he was getting pretty decent line mates. But what I really noticed with him, and when he really tried to, focus in on his game, there's a lot of hesitation. There's a lot of
Hmm.
delay. There's a lot of times where it I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. There's nothing that's fluid or, there's nothing really going on. When you see, someone makes a pass, he's a second late to shoot. The puck gets turned over, he's a second late to react. You actually almost see it. Like if you really pay attention to him, you see it. There's a hesitation second. He's not like I don't know if the IQ is like the hockey IQ overall is an issue. If what he used to do in junior has been so coached out of him that the instincts aren't there anymore.
Hmm.
But there's definitely some cause for concern in just in general to how he processes the game and what's going on at a high level. And I don't know why he has that hesitation because I don't really remember it when he came up originally. And then I think he had that short 28 game run and I think that was like 20. Was that the I think that was the disaster season. I think that was 1920. Played like
Mhm.
28 games, and he actually played all right, but it's kind of downhill from that. I think that's what the year he had like 13% shooting percentage. Shot
Yes,
percentage was
yeah,
like
yeah.
13.3, which is really good. So you have to wonder, kind of what direction he's getting and how that's affecting, his inherent skills versus what, they're expecting him to do. Maybe a new coach helps him. Maybe just being with Vrana for a year, you get that the two check wingers maybe helps. Um, but he's young, and I think that's important. You look at guys like was it Jordan Kyrou this year? Didn't really do anything prior to this year, but he's 20, 23, 24 now. I think he turned 24 this year, and he's starting to get in with St. Louis. I think he scored like 25 goals. So you're just kind of hoping that he kind of gets it with age. I think at this point is the best that can be hoped for.
Yeah, it's I think that hesitation is we saw it in Rasmussen last year, big time, like, almost like he wasn't the person in his body type thing, or he was like a Great Dane puppy, something he just hadn't grown into it seemed like, but, I think that comes with confidence, like I said, um, his IQ, I believe, is actually pretty high. I just think that system he was working with Blashill doesn't, promote creativity, and it doesn't allow for these guys to kind of think outside the box. It's you're either going to play defense or I'm going to tell on you.
Well,
That's kind of what I got out of that.
I think this year you've seen that they actually sacrificed a lot of defense for offense. Like Larkin was almost a black hole defensively this year. It was bad. Bertuzzi kind of the same thing. Raymond was probably the best defensive forward on that top line, or maybe in that top six, that we had. Because I mean, Vrana is not a good defensive player, but he scores in an elite rate, like legitimately elite rate. 5 on 5, I think he only follows Matthews. So I can see where you give him some leash, but these other guys, they were pretty defensively deficient, and I think in a lot of games you've seen that the forwards um, were really responsible for a lot of the defensive lapses that they
Yeah,
had. So I don't know what Blash was doing. I mean, you heard him for years preach defense, defense first, got to play the right way, 200-foot game, cliche after cliche, and I don't know what happened this year. They dropped all of that for the forwards, and they made up some of the offense, but I mean, they got torched so many times that I don't know. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know if maybe the players didn't really understand the system anymore, or they were just everything was tuned out. I think that a guy like Zadina maybe coming, from an offensive system in the queue, which is what the queue is. The queue, they don't really play defense,
right.
and kind of having to learn it, and then maybe getting jerked around. But in the NHL, you have to do what the coach, ultimately tells you, and you have to try to succeed on your own. So you can't really give him those excuses. But I don't know. I see middle six forward still. I'm hoping he's not a third liner because he doesn't have any grit. The board battles are not there. The physicality's not there. Um, he's kind of that cliche 90s, that 90s cliche European soft guy.
Yeah, I think that's why he needs to put on a little bit of muscle. I mean, the East is big. It used to be the West. I mean, but the East is big now. But I think I mean he played 74 games. I mean, if it wasn't for the appendicitis, he'd be there. I'm not concerned about his health, but I think if he just adds that other part of his to his game, he'll be able to bang a little bit in the corners. In regards to the coaching aspect of it all, I do think this is going to kind of spur him a little bit. Eisman's kind of one of those cutthroat guys that we've kind of seen. I mean, how many times have we cut to Stevie up in the press box, him just steaming? You know, I mean, whether that's over Blashill or Zadina or whoever, but still, I mean, there's an expectation here, and I think that kind of went by the wayside with Holland in his later time. And I do think the guys tuned Blash out, and I do think there was a little bit more reliance on the defensive side because of Sider and his impact. And now we've got some sort of a goalie tandem with Nedeljkovic and Grice. So maybe maybe that was the thought there. Like, hey, we got a little bit better on the back end, but clearly outside of Cider, there's no one. And I mean, and there won't be no one until Evanson and some of these guys get up here or we trade because Letty was a disaster. I thought that was going to be the turning point, but here we are.
So, I mean, right now, there's a lot of people out there, kind of overreacting to Zadina, I feel. And you have
Mhm,
to remember, like, you look at guys like we had in the past, like Nyquist and Tatar, where they didn't start playing like their first full NHL seasons till 24 years old.
mhm.
Um, so what you've seen out of Zadina, you never would have seen under Holland. Like he would still be in Grand Rapids, he'd be doing whatever. So
Y-
you kind of have to take this with a grain of salt that you're seeing these guys a lot younger. Zadina isn't helped by Raymond stepping in and, playing very well. He kind of puts even bigger spotlight on his deficiencies where, you know, maybe that doesn't happen, I don't know, without couple great rookies stepping in. And you look at this kid, it's like, hey, what are you doing? Where are the goals from you? So it's kind of hard to say. I still think wait and see. You see, but there's a lot of people out there, that, oh, we should trade him for like, what are you
Not
gonna
yet.
get? What are you
It's
gonna
a wait
get?
and see. I mean, it's such a low risk move right now to keep him because I mean,
No,
honestly, if he just falls down the depth chart with Berggren and these other guys coming in from overseas, then you've got your answer. But right now, I think there's a possibility of too much upside here and not as much downside. So I'd let it ride. Just let him run second, third line. Let him run the second power play for a little bit and let him get some confidence. The moment the guy gets his confidence, it's gonna turn on, and we'll know it right away because
yeah, I
full
think so
season with
too.
Verana, great line mates. I mean, he was kind of trying to carry the load. He's just not that type of guy. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
and you look at when they started putting Vrana and Zadina together down the line. I think he had 4 points in his last 8 games.
Yeah,
So, it's there. Maybe Vrana helps him. You get that kind of that their countrymen. All that kind of stuff. I don't know really if that's really worth anything at this point, but at least get a line out there that he's not going from first line to second line to third line to fourth line. You
can't do that
know,
to guys.
I just think that the previous coaching organization didn't put a lot of stock in like what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, knowing the guys that you're out there playing with, understanding what they're going to do, and just having that. Um, I can't think of the word right now, but
Like matchups, kind of.
no, like when you play with the same guys over and over, you know their tendencies,
Oh yeah,
you know what they're
chemistry.
going to
Yeah.
do. Yeah, chemistry. I don't know why I forgot that. I should have known that talking hockey all the time, but yeah, like, and that's a big deal. No matter what you're playing, no matter what level you're playing at, when you have that kind of innate feeling for what the people you play with are doing, it gives you a leg up, and that's a big deal. And I mean, that's why you see all these other teams, they leave their top lines together barring injury, and
Mhm.
we were game to game who's playing with who.
Well, there was most times when the Wings would post the tweets and they'd have the lines on there. There was two guys on the top line. That was it because we don't know. We
Yeah.
don't know what was going to come out of that locker room. And another thing too, it's like you can't. These guys have certain ways they get ready for games. All right, they walk in, they know where they're going to be in the lineup, they prepare for that. Now, to your point, if you start throwing that stuff off, like if he's Zadina's going to drop down and play with Giovanni Smith, like what the hell am I supposed to do there? Am I just supposed to go out there and throw my body around, type thing, or just pick up a puck from Smith and throw it on net? Like it changes your preparation. These guys come in, they get their Starbucks, they walk down the tunnel, and they should know where they're going to be, you know.
Yeah.
So, but and that's not the case. That wasn't the case. I mean, I Flash was throwing shit at the wall, hoping it'd stick at this point, and you could tell.
Yeah. But I guess at this point, I mean, the right play is wait and see. In a
Yeah.
trade, he's not getting you much of anything. You're
Hmm.
selling really low. You might get the best you're gonna get is someone else's project, right? You're gonna swap projects and kind of hope you make out better. But I think the upside's there. You've invested the time with the kid. And you just gotta wait and see.
I'd let it roll.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have anything else on him other than
Yep.
just hope next year turns it around.
Yep.
Like, comment, subscribe. I don't have anything else. We'll see you guys next time.
So, yeah.